Hey everyone, Leo with the Dreaming Tree, and welcome to the assembly video for our Ghostly's guest house. Now I have all of my pieces cut out in front of me here, as should you. And of course we did a brand new haunted house for 2021. You know, those are some of the more popular ones. This one's a little more on the cutesy side, but of course it's got a little bit of terror and fright to go along with it. So we're going to begin sort of bottom up. We've got the pieces for the base here. Okay, now this little piece here is just that's a little support box. Okay, and I like to start with these when we have them so that I can get a feel for the glue and just kind of get into a rhythm here. So we're going to begin by, I'm going to fold this large flap back. We're going to begin by putting glue on the little tabs here. And this doesn't need to be perfect because ultimately it's going to be inside of the actual base itself, but it's a good little piece to, like I said, get your feet wet and to get in the zone. So I'm going to take and put glue on both those tabs and just kind of hit that with my finger to thin it out a little bit, and just put that and grab this piece here and just press that onto the tabs there. Kind of get used to really spreading that glue out, making sure it's nice and thin. That way you don't spend extra time waiting for that glue to set. The wetter it is, the longer it's going to take. So get into the habit of using your glue sparingly. Okay, so we got two more tabs here. Get those in place. Okay, and again, I like to take the glue and pop it out, just kind of dab it all the way out to the very edge of each of the tabs. We can pull that tab back so that we can get our finger in here a lot easier. And just press that right onto the tab. And there we go. Okay, I'm going to hold both sides here together for just some minutes. And then we can take these three tabs, fold them over. We're going to apply glue to all three. Again, this does not need to be perfect. It just needs to be structurally sound, but it's a good time to practice. Okay, and I always put a little bit of glue right out to the very edge because that's where it really matters. That interior glue is going to make sure that those tabs stay, but the glue that I'm spreading out to the very edges of the tabs are going to make sure that everything looks nice from the outside. Okay, just grab the lid from the box and press it down onto those tabs, and there we go. Okay, so essentially not going to see this, but good practice, and I'm already feeling like I'm in the zone here. So we've got little fence pieces for the base. Now I did take some time and just inked the tops and wherever I could get on the sides. I wasn't overly concerned about the insides here. You could drive yourself crazy trying to ink every little piece. Don't worry about it. It still gives it a nice effect. And here is the main part of the base. Now you'll notice that I took the side here. You'll notice that you have some score lines on here, and that's to help you with the placement of the house and various elements. We'll get into that in a minute, but I did also fold these back and hit the top of this with a little bit of ink. Okay, so just like we did with the smaller box, the assembly for this is going to be very similar. So let's begin by putting glue on the tabs here. We'll do two at a time. And again, I'm going to take my finger and I just like to kind of dab it and just tap it to get that glue out to the very edge of that tab. Okay, and then we can take, and if you want, you can fold this tab back and grab that side, press it up against the tab that we just put glue on. Let that stay for a second, and then do the same thing on the other side. Just make sure you've got that nice and lined up. Okay, that's good. I can bring this tab in now. And just hold that for a few more seconds, especially up here at the top. Okay, so same thing on the other side. Grab your glue, let's get that glue on there. And again, just making sure that I'm getting it all the way out to the very edges, very corners of both of these tabs. They're kind of small. They're doing a lot of work here. So it is important that we get plenty of glue on there. And just grab that side, bring it over, and press that against the tab that we just put glue on. And can move on over to the other side as well. And just press and hold. I'm going to go back and grab both sides just to make sure that it's making good contact. Okay, you can take this tab and flip it over. Now we're going to take this piece and we're going to anchor it to one side. Instead of trying to do all 4 sides at once, we're going to set it up so that it's a lot easier to get the whole thing glued down, starting with one side. Grab that glue with your finger, or if you don't want to use a finger, you want to use a brush, or whatever you want to use is fine. I like to use my finger because I can really feel everything that's going on. Okay, and we're going to take this and pop it right onto that tab, get it nice and centered, right up to the very edge of that side. Just wipe off any excess glue you may have. You're going to do that pretty much throughout the process, because it does happen. And flip this down and press down on the tab using my table for some additional leverage. That really helps push the glue into the paper fibers. Okay, so that's a very nice little edge there. Okay, so I got ahead of myself a little bit here. Before we close this up, we want to take this little piece here that we created just a moment ago, and we're going to glue that down to the center. And that's just going to help create a nice stable base. Say if you put a electronic tea light in here, it won't start to sag. Okay, so you can see here that I've got old glue on here because I closed this up before I put that piece in there. So I was saying that I was in the zone, but you know, obviously I'm not paying enough attention right now. So I'm gonna redo that. It's okay. I don't think it's gonna be noticeable. And again, this is gonna be on the bottom, so we're not really gonna see it anyway. But we'll see. See how it turns out. So we're gonna take this piece here and we're gonna try to line it up with this edge first, the edge opposite of the side where it's already hinged. And like I said, it's gonna be okay, even though I had to pull it off. And then if you need to nudge either wall in a little bit, the left or the right wall, that's totally normal. Okay, and then continue to just kind of press down along the very edge where the 2 sides meet, or the 2 sections meet. Okay, and there we go. So that actually was okay and looks great despite the fact that I goofed up. Okay, so again, this is my top because this is where I've got my ink. And at this point, we can go ahead and begin putting down, well, we've got the fence. We also have one more element here that is basically just the little front step, and that's right here. Okay, and that's gonna go right here. You'll see that there are 2 little score marks here to help you with the centering of that. Okay, so we're just gonna put glue on both sides of this, like so. And the thinner side is going to go along the side, and the longer side is going to go on top. And just try to get that right in the center where those little markers are. Just pop them right in between. Okay, so that's our little doorstep. And now we can begin putting our little fence in place. And it's kind of going to go like this. Okay. The smaller pieces will have little tabs on them here, and that's to help join the pieces with the sides. Okay, so you'll notice that on these longer pieces, there's one section that's kind of angled, and there's one section here that is completely straight. That's going to go on the side where you have those little tabs, and the same with this. And the back is actually just wide open. So we are going to glue the front down first. Okay, and all we need to do is apply glue just to the bottom strip here, and then you can also put it on the tab down here. Okay, and just make sure that you get a little bit of glue out to the very edge of that section there. And when we put this down, use the little fold on the score mark there to your advantage. Kind of use that as your initial guide, and then pop that into place. Make sure that is nice and flush with the very bottom of your base, and just press that down and hold it for just a moment, as well as this little tab here. This tab is going to be floating, and that's totally normal. Okay, so there's that, and we'll do the same thing with the other side. Let's get our glue in place, a little bit on the tab as well. If you happen to get a little bit too much on there, just wipe it off with your finger. We don't want to cause any blemishes. And again, I'm using the little tab here to help me with the initial placement. Make sure that that tab is nice and flush along this side, and that the bottom here is nice and flush with the base. There we go. And continue to hold that down. All right. And finally, we can now glue this on. And I think what I'm going to do is just glue the bottom on first and focus on that, and then grab that little hanging tab and get that glued down into place as well. Okay, just like that. And pop that right on there. Again, keeping it nice and flush with the very bottom of the base. You can kind of run your finger along the bottom and feel it. You'll know that you've got it. And of course, visually, you can always inspect it, make sure that everything looks good as well. And then for this little tab here, I could have put glue on it before I put that on, but it's okay. I'm just grabbing a scrap piece of paper, and what I'll do is I'll move that tab back out of the way and just paint a little bit of glue right on it. Just moving the fence out of the way, the side one, and then just take that and press it right into place. And just hold it for a moment. Let it set. And there you go. You can see how nice that looks. Okay, so this time I'll actually put glue on that little fence piece ahead of time, so I don't have to worry about it. Let's get our glue on the very bottom strip. And let's not forget to put the glue on this guy here. Just one little dot. I'll kind of hit that with my finger, spread it out, thin it out. And again, get that nice and centered on the side. Make sure it's flush with the bottom. There we go. And then while you've got it, grab that little tab and just press that into place. Just a couple little quick presses should be more than enough for that. Okay, so there's our cool little spooky little base, and I'm pretty sure, yeah, there's no fence on the back because we got a little door and we don't want to ruin any of that. Okay, so there it is. Base is done. You can put that off to the side and begin working on the next section here. All right, so the base is complete. Now what we're going to do is kind of put some things together in segments. You know, the haunted house has 2 towers and then 1 main section in the center. I'm going to show you the pieces for the tower on the right. That's this guy here. Okay, this is the little roof for it. And then we have panels for the roof. Now, one thing I want to mention, obviously, we have panels for the side of the main structure, and some of these are different sizes, so you might want to just kind of put them in place before you put glue down, just to make sure we've got the right one there. Okay, and then with this one, we have pieces of vellum, and this one is going to go here. It's the one that has that little slant at the bottom. Okay, it should be the only one that's like that, and it is. Okay, so that's the tower on the right. Now we're going to look at the tower on the left, and I'm just doing this right now because they share similar pieces, and I don't want you to goof that up. So we'll go through that real quick. So this is the main structure of our tower here. Just like with the tower on the right, we have little panels. This one, obviously, this is where the chimney's going to go. Actually, no, it's not. That's a window. We do have a chimney that's going to go on the main roof part of this. Okay, so let's just get these in place. These should all be the same. They are. Okay, and then one thing worth noting is that we have these panels for the main roof of the tower, and you'll notice that the panels for the tower on the right are actually smaller than the panels for the tower on the left. So you want the larger triangles on the left tower, smaller triangles on the right tower. Okay, and then of course, because we have a little chimney, this is the little chimney piece. I actually embossed this with what looks like stone with my embossing machine, and this is the top of the chimney. So we're going to need all that, and I'm going to just hop right to this and start assembling these two towers. Okay, now this is the kind of thing that I like to do while everything is nice and flat. So let's begin by gluing down the panels. Now, as you can see, I've embossed these and also inked them. I've inked them first and then embossed them. And when we put these down, you want to make sure that you get them as centered as you can so that we maintain a nice even border. In my case, the border is going to be orange. Yours might be a different color. And again, double check to make sure you're using the right piece on the right segment, because well, this haunted house is a little wonky. Okay, so we'll get our glue in place. The vellum, we're going to glue the vellum inside. Since this isn't really a gift box, it's more of a little decor piece or a little luminary. I'm okay with putting the vellum inside. Oh, and actually there's one piece that I'm missing here. I'll show you in a second. There's a little overlay for the window. It's like the frame of the window. So we definitely want to get that in place. And when you place this one on here, use the little cutout as your guide. And then we've got one more here. I'm going really easy on the glue here. And just try to get that nice and centered as well. There we go. Okay. All right, let's flip this over and let's get the vellum in there. As far as the vellum goes, I'm just going to do a series of little dots around the perimeter. I don't like to cake it too much. And then just match it up with the shape and just lightly press that down. And you can see how that looks. And as I mentioned, we do have, it's in here actually, we've got this little panel. It's going to go on top here. It's the little frame for the window. And this is also a little delicate piece. So instead of doing a thick line of glue, I'm just going to do little dots and then dab that to thin that glue out so it doesn't go squirting off the side. And that'll keep things nice and tidy. Just line that up with the existing cutout. And this one doesn't have any screens or one of the shutters, I should say. Okay, so that's that. And to put this together, all we're doing is taking and applying glue to this tab here, like so. And just like everything else, spread that glue out to the very edge. And this thing's got a wonky shape, so we can't use our table for leverage, I don't think. Actually, we can. Never mind. I'm going to flatten it out. So I lined it up with the tab, but I flattened it out so I can just really press down on that tab and get it in place so it looks like that. Okay. Now, we don't want to close up the bottom. These tabs here are actually going to be used to anchor this to the roof, but we do want to close up the top. So let's get our glue on these three tabs. Make sure I'm not missing anything. Everything looks good. I already forgot to put a box inside of the base, so I'm kind of double checking myself here a little bit. And we're going to spread that glue out to the very edge of this tab, even those little corners there. There we go. And then we're going to take and close it up. Focus on aligning this edge with this side first. Get that nice and centered. And then if you need to kind of nudge the sides in, totally normal. And that looks great. You can actually put that down on your surface. And if you have a dowel handy, you can use a dowel to press inside to get the rest of that tab to make better contact with the top. Okay, and that looks perfect. If I've got a little edge here that maybe just needs a few extra seconds to mostly cure. Okay, there we go. Okay, so that's the bones of the tower. And now we have the little roof. And all of these should be, yeah, they are, in fact, the same size. And we're going to glue these panels down while this is flat, just to make it easier. So go ahead and get your glue on this little roof panel. You can see that I inked this with a little bit of purple, and I have this cool embossing folder that almost looks like a shingle. So I did that as well, and it turned out nice. Okay, and we've got 3 more to go, and then we're going to take this, glue it all together to make it dimensional, and then finally glue this to the actual structure that we just created. So it's going to look like this. You just want to make sure that if you are putting the panels down and you have embossing on them, that they're going in the right direction. So I do want to point that out. Okay. And that is the epitome of Halloween colors right there. That orange and, well, I'm sorry, the purple and black. I guess orange and black are more traditional, but purple is definitely part of that palette. Okay, so get that in place, and there's one left here. You'll notice that on the bottom of this, there's a series of little score marks, and that's just to help you get it centered on the actual base of the tower. Okay, get that nice and centered. Nice even border all the way around. Okay, great. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to take some glue and put it on this tab. Now, this is a black structure, so be careful with the glue here, because sometimes that glue, even though it dries clear, it's not completely clear, meaning it leaves a little bit of a gloss. It's not always the best looking. Okay, so we're going to line this up with the other side. Get it right on that little score mark. And then if you want, again, you can take this and flatten it and just press down right on that edge to really help push that glue into place. Now you'll notice the top has kind of a little square on it. We're going to put a little finial on there in the form of a pearl. And that's going to look pretty cool. Okay, so we just need to close this up, I should say. It's actually already pretty clean. And then, as you can probably imagine, the other tower is going to be very similar. It's just a different shape. Okay, spreading that glue out to the very edge of the tab. I had a little excess there on the other side, so I'm just bringing it over. And again, when we flip this over, focus on aligning it with the side opposite of the side that is already hinged. Get it nice and centered, like so. And then if you need to, kind of nudge the other 2 sides in just to get it perfectly in place. And I'm going to press that down on my table and kind of let the table do the work. There we go. Give it a few seconds to set. Don't want to rush it. Okay, and you can see how wonderful these colors are working together here. And that looks good. Okay, so again, you'll notice that you have little score marks on here, and you can just use those to help you get that in the correct spot. And since this is a symmetrical piece, it doesn't matter which way you put it on. What I'm going to do is I'm going to put glue on the top of this, and make sure that I get the glue all the way out to the edges as well. I want it to look seamless. A little extra there, And spread that glue out. Nice and easy. There we go. And again, just using the little guides there at the bottom to help me with the placement. And you're going to want to press, kind of give that a good little push while you hold it and let it set. That looks really cool. Yeah, and don't let up. Don't let up on this. You want to keep holding this until you're sure it ain't going anywhere. Okay. There we go. And you can actually, if you want, you can even press down on the inside using a little dowel, just for good measure. Work the perimeter a little bit, and that's it. Okay, so there is the right tower, and I'm going to put that off to the side. Put it over here with the base while we construct the left tower. Okay, so this is going to be a little bit different because we have a chimney that we need to put in place. Now this is just the little window, okay? And for this one, we just need to find this tiny little square as far as the vellum goes. It's this guy here. Let me make sure that's right. Yep, that's right. Okay, so we can just get our vellum in place first. That's fine. Again, just using little dots around the perimeter, and we'll just pop that right into place. Give that just a quick little gentle push. Okay, and let's get our panels in place. We can start with the one that has the cutout on it, because that is, we've got a visual cue to help us with the placement, and we can use that as a reference for placements of the remaining 3 panels. What I mean by that is we know just how much border we have there, so we can kind of use that as a visual guide for the placement of the other ones. Now again, these are all the same size, so you can, doesn't matter which one you pick, just grab one and pop it on there. Okay, here we go. Press that into place, and there we go. Okay. So this one's actually going to be this way. And just like we did with the first one, we're going to glue this together. These tabs here, we're going to be using those to anchor it to the roof. We're going to close that up. So start by putting glue on this tab here. Let's get that glue out to the edge like so. Wipe off any excess there. Line that up as accurately as you can. Curious to see if this one is also symmetrical, so you can just press that down. Okay, so that's where we put the glue. I'm just folding it over onto that seam and pressing it down. It really helps it dry a lot faster. We're not doing anything with these tabs, we're leaving those alone. We're going to fold these tabs in, apply our glue, and close it up. Okay, spread that glue out to the very edge of the tab. I might need to go back here a little bit in that corner. There we go, perfect. And again, close it up. Focus on aligning it with the side opposite of the side that is already hinged. Line that up nice and center, and then if you need to, give the 2 other sides a little bit of a nudge in. That's totally fine. And then continue to run your finger along the perimeter if you want. You can put that down on your surface. Press down with a dowel or something. And there we have it. That one's done. Now we can move over to this. Now we do have to put the roof or the chimney in before we close this up, but I can definitely get the panels on here first. Just to show you, it's going to go like this. with this being the bottom, this being the top. So if you did emboss, make sure that your embossing is going in the correct direction here. I'm going to start with this side here that has the little cutout for the chimney. Again, it'll be a good little visual reference for placement of the other 3 panels. Honestly, I think visually it's going to be pretty easy to center something. I think your eye knows when that border is even, and even if it's slightly off, I don't think anyone's really going to notice, to be honest. But you want to at least try to get it in the ballpark as far as centering it. I mean, people will notice if it's way off, but as long as you're mostly getting it centered, I don't think it's going to be a problem. Okay. There we go. Bring that up a tad. And we've got 2 more panels. Then we're going to put the chimney together. It'll be pretty straightforward. Okay. Nice and centered there. Press that down. Add a little excess glue there. That's okay. And the last one. Get that in place. Okay. All right, so we don't have any, well, actually, no, we already did the vellum, so we're good on that. Yeah, so here is our little chimney. It looks a little odd because it's embossed, but it's just 4 sides, and one of the sides has a small tab connected to it. The bottom part here, these are the tabs that we're going to use to anchor this to the actual roof, while this is the side here, the top, where we're actually going to close it up. Okay, and you'll know the difference because all of these are mostly triangular, but on the top there's a square piece. Okay, so we're going to begin by putting glue on the tab on the side here, nice and easy. I'm going to spread that glue out, and we'll take and connect it to the other side to join it all together, make it one continuous piece, and I'm going to flatten that out just so it's a lot easier. Okay, so I made contact with that tab on the other side, but then I flatten this thing out and I'm pressing on it while it's flat. Just a lot easier to do it that way. Okay, and I can pop it back into shape, move the little square part out of the way, and we're going to apply our glue to these 3 tabs and close this up. Okay, so we have the side in place, and we have the 3 tabs on top here we need to apply glue to. And since it's a small piece here, I'm going to use my finger to really get that glue covering the tabs nicely. And then we're going to close this up and just press and hold that down. Now, if it helps, you can put that down on your surface, grab a dowel, and push from the inside. Okay. So there is the stem of the chimney. And as I mentioned, this is going to go inside. Now, we're going to pretend that this is together. And when we actually get it anchored to the roof, the chimney's going to be coming from, let's say this is the front of the haunted house. The chimney's going to be coming off to the side here. And we want to make sure that you can see that it's kind of angled. Okay, that angle is going to go, we're going to pop this in at this angle. Okay, so it's like this. Let me move this tab out of the way here. So you can see how there's a little angle there. This side's flat, this side's angled, but it's not going to work that way. We want the angle going from here, and it's going to get longer as you go to the right. Okay, so we're going to pull these tabs out, and we're going to pop them through this little hole here. And then the idea is to glue these tabs to the inside so that the chimney's sticking out like that. Okay, so we can just start with just one tab just to get it anchored, And we don't need to worry about covering the whole thing with glue, just enough to hold it in place, and press that down and hold it. Okay, no one's really going to see this, so if you get a little messy in there, it's okay. And then we'll go to the side opposite of the side that we just did, and press that down up against the inside. And then just have 2 more tabs here, just a few little dots, maybe a little swirl of glue. Press that down, and as you're holding it, apply your glue to this side and press that down up against the inside. Okay, there we go. Just like that. We'll worry about this part in just a moment. Okay, so we can close this up now and apply glue to this section here. And again, I'm going to take and spread that glue out to the very edge. Okay. Grab the other end, pop it right on top of that tab, and you can actually still do this flat. And just press down right there and get that in place. Okay. Just like that. That looks great. And just like we did with the other tower, I'm going to put glue on the remaining 3 tabs to close this up. Spread that glue out. Get it all the way out to the very corners here. Okay, that's great. And we'll close it up. Focus on aligning this side first. Get it nice and centered. And then if you need to nudge these in, now's the time. And then press down. Same thing here. Nudge it in a bit if it needs to come in. It probably does. And then press down. You can kind of put that down on your table a little bit. And continue working your fingers around the perimeter. Wipe off any excess glue that may have seeped out. Just like that. Okay. So that's that. Now we do have this little cap for the chimney, and I've already kind of pre-folded it. It's a very tiny box, very similar to the one that we constructed at the beginning of the tutorial here. Okay, so we're working with some pretty small tabs here, but it's doable. Just a little drop of glue will do. And then you can tuck that in up against the side next to it and press and hold that down. Okay, keep holding there for just a moment. Yeah, it's a little delicate piece. If it helps, grab a little dowel and use that to push down to get that to really stick. Okay, moving on to the other side. We've got that tiny little tab there. Honestly, that looks kind of cool even without this piece. So if you are having trouble with this piece, I guess you can omit it since it is small, but either way. I'm going to put glue on this tab as well. Okay, and I'm going to pull this piece in, press that up against the little tab there. Let me fold this out of the way, make it easier. There we go. And we'll just press and hold that in place. Make sure it's nice and lined up. And just hold it until it sets. Again, you can put that down on your surface. Pop a little dowel in there to press that down. Maybe that'll help. There we go. Okay, and I have one little tab here. Now, I don't want to pull this apart, so I'm going to grab a scrap piece of paper, throw a little bit of glue on there, and just paint that glue right on that tab. Since the glue's only on one side of this paper, I can kind of push up against this tab here and not worry about getting any glue on there. Okay, and then just hold that in place. I know it's a really tiny piece, but you can do it. You can do it. Okay, and we can take these little tabs and fold them in, and just like the series of sections we've constructed here, I'm just going to put glue on these 3 tabs and close it up just like a little pizza box. I'm going to spread that glue out nicely and go ahead and close it up. And at this point, you can kind of just give it a little pinch on either side. Whatever side needs to come in a little bit, give it a pinch while you're pressing down on it as well. And continue to apply that pressure until this thing is fully set. Okay, and then this is going to get glued right to the stem, or the main part of the chimney here. And then we have, what we're going to do to create the illusion of smoke is just take a little bit of cotton and wisp it. I've got glue on my fingers right now, so I'm not going to do it. But after the fact, you can put a little smoke on there. Okay, so let's finish this up. Let's put a little bit of glue on the top of our chimney here. Let's spread it out all the way to the edges. Okay, and then we can take our little cap and just try to center it on there as accurately as you can. Take a look at it from all four sides. And kind of look at it from this angle here on the bottom to make sure that it's nice and centered. Okay, you've got a few seconds before it starts to really set to adjust it into its final resting place. Okay, so there is our cap, and now you can take this, and just like the previous tower, we do have little markers here to help you with the centering of this piece. So we can go ahead and apply our glue to the top of this section and spread that glue out to the very edges, like so, and just line that up. Now, again, keep in mind, we want the window facing us, but the chimney off to the right. And I actually forgot to put the little window frame on there, but that's okay. It's such a small piece, I'm not worried about it. We're gonna put that on here in just a second. Okay, so again, window facing you, chimney off to the right. I guess you could technically have the chimney, you know, on the other side, but if you want it to look like we have it, that is the correct orientation. Okay, let me grab the little piece here for this window. Yeah, you can see this one has a little piece of wood on it, and it's going to go like that. Okay, so let's get that glued into place. I'm just going to use a series of little dots here. Again, it's a small piece, and these little bits of glue are going to do plenty of heavy lifting here to keep it in place. No need to, you know, cake it with glue here. And pop that right over the window, and just hold that down for a moment. And then we actually have a little overlay. In my case, it's a little orange piece that's going to go right on top of there, just to give it the illusion that it's a piece of wood. And I'm going to do little dots as well on this, and just pop that right on there. All these little cute details. Okay, so there is Tower 2. Now we're going to work on the center tower, and things are going to get a little more complex here, but nothing crazy. Okay, so I'm going to start off with, there's a base to this, and then there's a roof portion. We're going to put the base together. Okay, so this is the base. This is the little hole here that we're going to put the roof through. It's going to anchor to this. Okay, but as you'll notice here, we do have a little window. That's where our ghost is going to be. And we just need to find the piece of vellum for that, which is this one here. Okay, so just look through your vellum and find the one that fits as closely as possible. At this point, we've already used some of the smaller stuff, so I don't think you're going to get it confused with anything. This vellum is going on the inside. Okay, just press that down. Let's take a look. Looks good. Okay, perfect. And now while we have this flat, I'm going to take advantage of that, and we're going to put some panels on here. Okay, and this is like a lavender color. Okay, the front, obviously, you can see here that the cutout is perfect for the window. So that's going to go there. And then we've got this panel here. We just want to make sure that we get them nice and centered on these sections. And this one's going to go here, obviously. Okay, so let's get those in place before we actually put this together completely. Okay, and I'm kind of being a little more thorough with my glue here because I did emboss this, and when you emboss, there's going to be areas of this paper that are not going to make really good contact with the structure here. So I want to make sure that I get plenty of glue on here. Okay, all right, so we can move on to this panel now. You can actually hear the texture as I run my nozzle across it. It's kind of interesting. Okay, oops. We'll pop that right into place here. Make sure you get it nice and centered. Just like that. Had a little excess there, that's okay. There we go. Okay, and two more. And then we've got, I've got an overlay, but I'm not going to do that right now because it's a kind of a dimensional, well, it's the window frame. There's also a ghost that we're going to be gluing to that. And I don't want to do that right now because I don't want it to get messed up while I'm assembling this thing. So we're going to leave that as one of the last steps. Okay, so actually let me show you what this is what the window frame looks like with the little shutters. And then we actually have a little silver ghost. That's this guy here. He's going to be flying out that window. It's going to be cool because you know, when you have your little light in there, hopefully it'll kind of shine through and illuminate him, make him look like a real specter. Okay, get the last one in place here. Again, nice and centered, so you have an even border all the way around. If you're off a tiny bit, don't worry about it. Okay, there we go. All right, so now we're going to take and join these two sections together. Again, the ghost and the window shutters, I'm going to put those off to the side for later. Okay, we're going to join these together using this tab first. So let's get our glue applied to this tab, spread that glue out to the very edges, and grab the other half, line it up as accurately as you can. Take a look at this horizontal line here, kind of use that as a reference. And you can fold it over onto itself as well and press down. These tabs here, they should pretty much be sitting right on top of each other nice and flush. That's a good indicator that you have this lined up accurately. Okay, now we can go over to the other side and apply our glue here. And spread that out. I overdid it on the glue there. There we go. And we can close this up. We can actually lay this down flat. Grab the other side. You know, I'm just going to do it like this. It didn't seem like it was matching up nicely for me, so I'm going to do it manually. Okay, there we go. And then you can fold it over and press down. Okay, have a little excess glue there. Just kind of rub it off while you can. There we go. So again, these tabs here, we're going to use those to anchor this to the roof. We're going to be going up from underneath the main part of the house. So you can actually take and close this up. Okay, this little hole up here, again, is to help us anchor the roof to this tower. Let's get our glue on these three tabs. Okay, and again, spread that glue out to the very edge of the tab, like so. Just like that. And fold it over, focus on getting this side aligned first. It's going to be a little bit more jiggly here because, well, it's a little bit thinner. Okay, and again, take, and if you need to, nudge the side walls in a little bit. You're probably going to have to. Same thing with this side. Nudge that in a bit. Make sure it's nice and flush and lined up with the top. You can flip it over. If you can get your hand in there, press down on those tabs from the inside. That's fine. And then continue applying kind of just a soft downward pressure onto the very edges here. If it's not completely lined up perfectly here, mine looks pretty good. It's off a smidge. When the roof goes on there, that's all going to be hidden away anyway. So you've got a little bit of leeway there. Okay. All right, so that part is done. Now we're going to put the roof together for this tower. I'll get these tabs ready to go. Okay, so we're grabbing this piece here. Oops. And this piece does have some panels, but we're not going to put them on because this thing is going to have a curve to it, and I don't want to try to fight against it. These panels are going to have to go on after we actually assemble the form for this structure. And, well, essentially, just trying to get a good grip on this here, figure out a good way to hold it. Yeah, there we go. Okay, so as we're gluing these tabs to the neighboring sides, we are going to be kind of giving this a little bit of a curve. Now, all you really need to do is just make sure that this is following the curve of its neighbor, and everything will fall into place. But what I would suggest doing is I'm going to do maybe just a couple tabs at a time until I get a feel for it. Okay, I'm going to kind of smush or dab the glue a little bit to spread it onto that tab. And the thinner the glue is here, the tackier it is, the quicker this process is going to go. So I'm kind of using my thumb just to start the little angle on it. Okay, and you want this to line up with its neighbor here. Okay, I'm going to the second tab now, and I'm just kind of squeezing that tab up against this piece here. I've got this motion going on, and just try to maintain that nice curve that we have there. Okay, so before I continue gluing these tabs down here, I just realized that I do have a piece of vellum that I need to get glued into place before I continue here. And you'll notice that in your collection of little vellum cutouts, you have two circular ones, and one of them is actually for the front of the house, and that's going to be the smaller one. For this one here, we need the larger circle. Okay, so grab that larger one, and just as we did before, going to just place a series of small dots around the perimeter and pop that into place. Make sure you're covering the cutout completely, so it looks like that. Okay, so we're back to here where we started, and I've got the first two tabs glued. It's going to be a lot easier to work from the inside at this point since those first two tabs are glued. Now there's also one more tab at the bottom, but we're going to leave that alone until we get all the sides connected, because that is actually, that's going to be, well, kind of on a completely different plane compared to these tabs here. And I have a feeling that moving forward here, when we do the remaining three sides, I think we're going to put the glue on all four tabs, as it's really not that difficult to get all four of these down and in place in one fell swoop. So I've got the final two on this side connected. Again, it's just very important that you maintain and connect these at this curve here, okay? And you'll be slightly, kind of bending and shaping this so it takes on that curve. All right, so let's move on to this side here. And as I mentioned, we do have this bottom tab here. We're going to leave that alone. We're just going to focus on these four tabs here. Okay, and I am going to put glue on all four of these tabs here. So I'm just going to use a series of little dots. Okay, and we're going to take and just kind of dab the glue all the way out to the very edge of each of those tabs. Let's tuck it behind its neighbor. And again, I'm kind of taking, and you can see I'm kind of shaping it and bending it a little bit. I'm using my thumb and my middle finger on my left hand to press those tabs into place. And as I get each one in place, I move down to the next one and continue to follow that curve by slightly bending this piece here with my thumb and my other fingers. Okay, and that's perfect right there. And you see how quickly that really grabs, because we didn't cake it with a ton of glue, just a little bit, and made it nice and tacky by kind of dabbing it. And if you're using black cardstock like I am, for whatever reason, I don't think it's because of the thickness of the paper. I think it's because of the added thickness that the black dye gives the paper. The black paper is typically thicker. So you may want to kind of wiggle those tabs around a little bit to loosen up those paper fibers so that you don't get any resistance as you're trying to fold them and then, of course, glue them down. Okay, so just like we did before, I'm going to grab that, and you see how I'm kind of pushing that in and curving it as I go. I'm going to grab that first tab, press it into place. Grab the second tab, press that into place. Might have to hold that one a little bit longer. Now the third tab, trying to maintain that curve there. And then the final tab here. Just like that. I have a little excess glue there, that's okay. Just kind of rub it off while you can. I have to go back up a little bit. I'm seeing a little bit of separation there. That's okay. Just make sure you keep holding that until those tabs really get a good hold. There we go. Perfect. Okay. And that just leaves one more side here. And I'm just going to go back and make sure that everything's really holding nice and tight there. Okay, so now with this one here, it may be a good idea to pull these tabs towards you from the inside. I don't want to pull this apart too much. I'll start by putting glue on the bottom tabs here. And I'll get it into that last one there. And this is where having a nice scrap piece of paper to kind of spread the glue might be a good idea, since you don't want to get your fingers in there and kind of rip this thing apart. Just spread it as evenly as you can, like that. Let's wipe off any excess that bled over. And this one's going to be a little trickier. Kind of working from a different angle here. I'm going to stick my finger in through the bottom like this. That works. Whatever feels the most comfortable for you is what I would suggest doing. Okay, and the last one there. Just be patient here. This is probably the most finicky part of the construction of this piece. So once we get through this, it should be pretty much smooth sailing, but that worked out nicely. And it looks like everything is holding nice and strong. Perfect. Okay, so that's all in place. And now, as I mentioned, we have this part here. You can see this slopes, but then this is straight. Okay, so we just need to take these little triangular tabs here, and I'm gonna bend this back. You can see the little tab there. I'm gonna put glue on that. Just a simple little dot. I'm gonna spread that out to the very edge of that tab, tuck it behind its neighbor, and we want this to be nice and straight. There's no more curve to this. And get those lined up as accurately as you can, just like that. And press and hold. There we go. Okay, can move along here. Let's go over to this side. Fold that back just to give us a little more access to this tab. And kind of dab that with your finger. We can pull this down, line that up, and press that up against the inside of this section. Might want to make sure that it's nice and straight here. Okay. All right, perfect. All right, so that just leaves 2 more tabs here. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to fold this back, and we're going to put glue on this tab here. So the only scary part about this is that we're working with black paper, and that glue, if it gets all over the place, it can really leave just a weird little gloss that I'm not very fond of, but it's not the end of the world. Okay, make sure that's lined up nicely. Tuck that in. There we go. And just hold that in place for a moment. And that just leaves 1 more tab here. Now again, so that we don't have to pull this part away and potentially mess up our previous tab, I'm just going to use a piece of paper to spread that glue around so I don't have to mess it up. Okay, so that tab is going to go right behind this section. Try to get it lined up as accurately as you can. And just hold that in place and let that set. Okay, that looks pretty good. Okay, all right, so now I can actually go ahead and close this up. Oops, there we go, just like that. So we're going to put glue on these 3 tabs here. Let me double check and make sure we're not missing anything. If everything looks good, let's go ahead and apply our glue to the 3 tabs here. And just like before, I'm going to spread that glue out to the very edges. I don't think I got enough on that one. Maybe I'll have a little excess from the other 2. I can go back and kind of hit that with a little more right in that spot. Okay, we'll close it up, focus on aligning it with this side first. And might need to kind of pull it taut. Okay, and then again, take those little sides. Might have to do it on both sides. Just give those a little bit of a nudge in and then press down. Just like that. And continue running your finger along the perimeter, making sure that it's making good contact all the way around. There we go. Okay, check your work. And I'd say that looks pretty darn good. Okay, so one thing that we want to keep in mind here is that as we go to join these 2 sections together, we're going to pop this in there. We're going to take those tabs in there and glue them to this side here, to this section of the inside of the base of the tower. Okay, so each tab is going to get folded over onto one of the interior sections here. Okay, so when we put this in here, also make sure that we have the vellum sections on the same side. Okay, because we've got 2 windows there on the front. We've got one here where the ghost is going to be, and then another window at the top. So pop that on like so. And what we can do, actually, here, let's just do this way. Just throw a little bit of glue on these tabs like this. Okay, we don't need to get the glue all the way out to the edges here. This is more just to hold it in place, making sure that my vellum is on the same side. And then I'm just going to take and push that tab over onto the inside there. But I'm gonna do that with my fingers. If you wanna use a dowel, you can. I'm gonna take this dowel and push that tab down. Okay, and just hold it. Okay, so if you're noticing that your glue that you put on there is drying out, that's okay. Just pop a little bit more glue onto that tab, and then again, we're gonna take it and push it down up against the inside of our other piece here of the tower, okay? And I'm actually using a dowel to push this down because it's allowing me to not have to jostle this thing around too much. Okay, and just kind of just hold it in place for a few moments with a dowel and then move it over a little bit and then over again and go back to the other side until we're sure that it's really getting a good hold. Okay, it'll take just a few moments. Okay, I've got 2 more tabs here. I'm just going to take my time with this and flip that over right onto that section. I'm going to hold it down right in the center with my dowel. Give that a few seconds and just kind of slowly move it over to the left and then over to the right, just making sure that it's getting as much of that surface area down on that structure. There we go. Usually you can get your hands into some of these things to accomplish this, but with this, my hand's too big to get in there, so I'm just using a dowel. Okay, and then I've got 1 more tab here. Get a little bit of glue on there, and then we're going to take it and push it over on top of the inside of the tower, and just press and hold it with the dowel right in the center, and then slowly go over to the right or to the left, and just give that glue enough time to really set. Okay. Now, what I noticed here is while I was working with this, this kind of popped out of shape a little bit. So you can just take a dowel and just pop it back into shape if that happened to you. And another thing I'm noticing here is that because I didn't fold the paper as well as I probably should have, I have a little bit of a gap there. If that happens to you, I'll show you how to fix it here in just a second. Okay, so if after you get this all glued together, if you're noticing that there's a little gap between these 2 sections, the fix for that is very simple, and it involves a scrap piece of paper. I'm going to take, and I'm actually going to go a little bit heavier on the glue here. We're just going to take this, and with the glue facing down, we're going to put glue on top of this surface here. Just going to tuck that in and just paint a little bit of glue right on that surface. And I'm going to do that on all 4 sides, and then I'm just going to press it down and hold it until it holds and gets a good grip. You don't need to put glue on every single inch of it. I think as long as we get a little bit of glue on a few of the areas, it should sit pretty flat for us. Okay, so we are doing this so that we can get light to shine through this top little window. Okay, so I've got glue on all 4 sides here, and I'm just going to press and hold this down. Don't worry about that. You can always snap that back out. We'll wait until this is fully set. I'll show you the end result here, and then we can continue with decorating the top part of this here in a moment. So as you can see here, I don't really have a gap there anymore. Just held it down until that glue set, and now it looks nice and seamless, and we're ready to move on here. Hopefully I held that down long enough. There's a possibility I didn't, and we'll know in a moment because it'll probably pop up, but we can move on here to the next section. So now we have these 2 pieces. There's actually 3 strips like this. 2 are folded in half, and 1 is 4 sections. This is going to go on top with the little fenced up little porch on top. These 2 are for this section here. So we're going to take and glue this down around this section here. Okay, and you want to start with the piece that has the tabs on the ends of it. Okay, so I'm going to put glue on just 1 section here. We'll do 1 section at a time. Okay, we'll pop that down. Use the little fold there as your guide. Pop that right on the corner and place that down. Make sure that you have it nice and flush with the bottom of this section. And just hold that down. You can run your thumb at the base of it. Make sure that it's sitting properly. And then over on this side, we can put a little bit of glue on this tiny tab and just push that into place. Got a little too much on there. And just press that down and hold it for a moment. Okay, and then we can go over to this side, put glue on this last little side that's kind of just dangling there. I'll just pop the glue on the tab as well. Might as well. Okay, and then we're going to fold it over onto this surface. Make sure, again, it's nice and flush. Okay, I noticed that this side keeps kind of popping out. There we go. Once we get this piece on there, it should hold it for us. And then press the tab over as well. There we go. That looks nice. And then we're going to take the other half now and glue that down as well. And then we can get busy with our little panels to complete the look. Okay, I'll grab this side here and put our glue on just one half of it, just like we did before. And pop that into place. Use the little fold here and connect that right with the edge. And just press down. Make sure it's nice and flush with the bottom. And hold it in place for a moment. Like so. That looks good. You know, a very subtle touch there, and it tends to want to kind of cave in. That's okay. Just be very careful with that. And the last little strip here. Let's get that glued down. Make sure you get a little bit of glue right out to the edge of this strip. Grab it and place it onto the side here. Should match up pretty much dead on the corner there. And there we go. Hold that down. Oh, it's this side. Keeps popping out. Here we go. Okay. That looks good. All right. So now we can go ahead and apply our panels, and that's pretty straightforward. I'm just going to put glue on this, and we're going to have to spend just a few extra seconds holding it down so that it maintains the little curve that we're forcing it to take the shape of here. You can kind of push down with your finger in the center. Make sure you get that lined up and centered, and that the window, the vellum part of the window, is the only thing showing here in the center. Okay, and that actually probably won't even need to hold that in place for too long. It's already pretty much staying in place here. Okay, that looks great. Okay. All right, so we can move on to the remaining three sides here, and we'll just get these all in place. There's really nothing different about these panels here, so it doesn't matter which one you grab. And again, I'm just kind of pushing down in the center with my finger here to give it a little bit of a bend. Make sure you get that nice and centered on there, and press that into place. Just like that. Okay, make sure it's nice and flush there at the bottom and on the sides. And then we can move on to the next piece. And I think that the little balcony part, I'm gonna leave that for one of the last steps, only because I don't want to crush it when we're connecting this to the actual roof. Okay, but pop this into place. Make sure it's nice and centered. And I've got a little excess glue there. I'm just gonna rub that off before it dries. That looks good. Perfect. And the last side. Okay. And nice and centered. There we go. Okay. Again, these tabs down here, we're going to be using these to anchor it to the actual roof. This guy here, we can actually, while this is drying, we'll put that off to the side for a second, we can get this assembled real quick. Okay, we have a series of, I already folded it, there's tabs here as well as here. We're just joining these together to make it dimensional. Okay, but I'm not going to put it on just yet. So just a few little dots of glue there on the tab, and then fold it over behind its little neighbor here, and just press and hold that for a moment, let it set. Shouldn't take long. There we go. And then we'll go over here to the next tab. Okay, tuck that behind and hold that in place. Give that a few seconds to set. And that just leaves two more tabs. Pull this out of the way, and I'm just going to put glue on both of these. If you didn't do it in the same order here, it's not a big deal. You get the idea here. We're just connecting the tabs to the inside part of each of these little fence sections. There we go, and the last one. Here we go. We'll glue this on once we've got the entire house put together. Okay, so there's the structure, and then you can take a little bit of glue, pop it on the inside, because we're adding this piece so that it's all nice and consistent with the rest of the roof once we get that assembled. And it's a nice color too. Okay, just press that down all the way around. And we're going to take this and put it off to the side. We'll deal with that later. There is one other thing. Actually, you know what? There's one other thing we can do with this piece. And we do have a little section here that we're going to put on to give it a two-tone sort of effect. Let's start with the very edge of this where we have the tab. We're going to put glue on the entire final section here as well as the tab. Okay, and then using the fold, we're going to use that to kind of help us with the initial placement. So just pop it on like that, fold it over right onto the corner. Make sure it's nice and flush with the bottom. Whoops. Okay, there we go. And then you can actually push that tab over onto the adjacent side as well. Perfect. And then we just go down the row here. We'll do one section at a time. Just throw a little bit of glue on there, fold it over onto the next side, making sure that it's nice and flush with the bottom. You can kind of feel that with your thumb or whichever finger you want to use. If it's kind of protruding too far down, you'll feel that instead of both surfaces. You just might need to nudge it upward a little bit. And next section, again, just take it and fold it over. The corners should meet up perfectly. And press that down, again, making sure that it's flush with the bottom. Just kind of hold it there. And now we are on the side with the little tab, and that's just going to make it look a little more seamless in case there was some user error or machine error and it didn't cut it perfectly. This will make it look like it did. Won't leave any black gaps there. Okay, press that down, again, making sure it's nice and flush with the bottom, and voila. Okay, so that section is done. And again, we'll put this on once everything else is put together. Okay, and that looks great. All right, so that's done. This guy is almost done. We have this one little overlay that we're gonna put on the window here. So we just need to put a little bit of glue on the back of this. I'm just gonna use a series of dots. Okay, and just for good measure, so it doesn't come shooting out, kind of dab it with my finger and just pop it on there. This is a symmetrical piece, so I don't think it really matters which way you put it on. And you can see, I think you can see how nice the inking, or how much it adds to it, I should say, as well as the embossing. Just really makes it all stand out. Okay, there we go. Done and done. Okay, so put this off to the side, and at this point, we're pretty much ready to start building the main part of the house. We'll save the roof for last, because we need the bulk of the house to be assembled before we can do anything else. And before we assemble anything, this is the back. Okay, this is another overlay that's going to go over that. This is the little door so that you can access your electronic tea light. This is a hole for one of the towers. That's also a hole for one of the towers. So we're going to flip this over to the inside so that we can get our vellum pieces in place first. Okay, so just going to lay these out for you. Okay, that's going to go like that. We've got one here. We've got another one here. And that guy's going there. He's going there. We have the big circle, or the small circle, I should say. And these two remaining vellum pieces that almost look like they've been cut in half, these are for the door. They're not actually going to get glued to the actual structure, so we don't need to worry about that right now. But let's get our vellum in place first. Just to get that out of the way, again, just a series of little dots around the perimeter. Don't get too close to the inside cut, because as you place this down, you don't want that glue to go shooting in towards the cutout. You want it to be nice and clean in there. Okay, so we'll move on to this one. Okay, pop that into place. Just a real gentle press. Vellum is very thin. Each of those little dots of glue are doing a ton of work holding it in place, so don't need to worry about whether or not you have enough glue. I'm going to put a little bit of glue there in the center of the little cross as well, and press that down into place. And then we've got a few windows that are kind of slanted here. And pop that into place. Press that down gently. You don't want to squeeze too hard. You might rush some of that glue inside to where the cutout is, and then it'll kind of tarnish or blemish your beautiful vellum. There we go. And now the door. You're going to bring this down as far as you can. What I'm going to do is I'm going to fold this tab kind of like up a little bit, so that when we put this in, it's going to go down as far as it can go. That door is literally completely flush with the base of the house. Okay, so I'll do it this way so you can see it better. I'm going to kind of push it up against the tab and then drop it into place. Nice and easy. And then you can take the tab, fold it up like that, because that'll force the vellum to move up if it needs to move up, but as you can see, it's perfectly flush with the bottom here. Okay, so that's that for the vellum, and now we can actually take, and we're going to apply the panels to the sides here as well. I don't see any harm in doing that. Okay, so we've got these two. These two are going to go right here, and the idea here is to just get this lined up with the cutout of the window. Okay, And what I'm going to suggest you do is take that tab and fold it underneath so that you can get a good clear visual on where the bottom of that is. Okay, and these are identical pieces, these side pieces, so it doesn't matter which one you select at this point. They're both going to end up with the same exact result. So let's get our glue on this piece here. You can maybe do a little dot in the center there on the little crosses of the windows. Okay, and just want to simply line that up with the cutout of the window as accurately as you can. And you do not want the bottom of this to go past the bottom of the structure. Okay, if it goes past a little bit, that's okay. Okay, so there's one panel. And while we're here, we can take the little accent piece that goes over the window. We can pop that in place as well. Why not? It's not going to affect the rest of the assembly, so may as well just get it done. And I'm just using a series of tiny little dots. And if I feel that I've got too much glue on there, I'll take and just kind of dab it with my finger a little bit to thin it out so that we don't get any glue spilling all over the place. Just match that up with the little cutouts there for the window, just like that. Okay, there we go. All right, so this guy's ready. We'll put him off to the side there, and we're going to repeat this process with the next little side piece here. Let me grab a little score tool to help me fold this a little bit better. There we go. Okay. So we can go ahead and apply our glue to our panel. Again, since I embossed this, I got to be a little more thorough with my glue because it's not hitting every single surface there. Okay, and just match that up with the cutout of the window and try to keep it nice and centered. It may look as if it's kind of going over some of these sections, but it's going to be just fine because we've got one more layer of paper that needs to go down here. And once you pull this back, you'll notice that it's pretty much flush with that. So you're in good shape. Okay, and let's grab the other overlay for the window. And just with a series of little dots, get that in place. Okay, just match that up with the little center of the window. Press that down. There we go. Wonderful. Okay, so that's ready. Now let's move on to, we'll do the back real quick. Now this is, I'm going to find these pieces. You want that piece, and you want this piece, and then you also want this piece. Okay, now this little center piece is going to be, it's going to be centered actually right on here. So you are going to have a very tiny little border all the way around this section. It's a pretty small border. Now let's get our glue on this entire thing here, like so. And as you can see, this entire process, we've just been kind of process of elimination, just doing one little section at a time until we get all the segments put together, and then we can finally build it. Just keeps things nice and organized. Okay, so there's that piece. Now these pieces here on this piece that we're gluing it to, we're actually going to go and be nice and flush. There is going to be a little bit of a border, a gap in the center here, but the rest of this, starting from here down to here as well as here, it's all going to be flush up against the very edge of this section. Okay, so let's get our glue on here on this panel. Now this also, I also hit this with inks and embossing. That's really going to bring this thing and take it to another level, bring it to life. Okay, so I'm using this corner right here as kind of my focal point for placement initially. Okay, let's just kind of line that up right there, drop it in place, and then the rest of it should just kind of fall into place. Again, this should be nice and flush with the bottom, and it is. Okay, let's press that down. Looks nice and flush on all sides. And then we'll grab the other half. Now, again, you're probably wondering, well, why couldn't that just be one solid piece? Well, unfortunately, there are not that many options for embossing at a very large size that would require something this big. So we kind of broke it in half. So, I mean, it still looks good, but at least now we can actually get it into an embossing folder to give it that cool, grungy look that those embossing machines give us. Really helps the paper projects stand out. Okay, just get that nice and lined up. There we go. Now this is actually just an overlay that goes on top of this section here, but we're not going to do that right now. Okay, we're going to wait until the rest of this is all put together. Okay, so all that's left now is to put the parts on the front. Okay, and similar to how everything went on the back, this is also going to be flush at the bottom. Okay, and I'm going to take, and because this is that black paper, it's so thick, I probably should have done this with the roof, or the center tower. Probably would have been a lot easier. Maybe I'll make a note during the assembly video so that you guys know to, I'm going to tuck all these tabs underneath. This is just so much easier when it's flat. Okay, and just like we did before, we're going to just match this up with the cutout of the window, and the rest of it should just fall into place. So let's get our glue on this panel. And again, this one's separate or kind of chopped in half so that we could actually fit it through an embossing machine. I don't really think it creates any more work. Either way, you would have had to apply glue to just as many sections here. Okay, so again, I'm focusing on making sure that I'm getting this lined up with the cutout for the window. And then of course, just kind of feel and make sure that it's nice and flush on the top and bottom. And that looks really good. Okay, and while we're here, well, I guess we'll do it after we get this one down. We've got the little overlays. We also have a little door that we need to, we're actually gonna foam square that onto that little vellum section. But we'll do that after everything's put together, because I don't want that to get damaged in any way, especially because we're gonna be kind of jostling the main structure around a little bit while we get all the little towers and the roof together. Okay, so again, focusing, I've got the tabs tucked underneath here, focusing on lining this up with the cutout for the window. Just get that as accurate as you can, and then the rest of it should just fall into place. Okay, I got a little bit of glue there. Just wipe that off and press that down. There we go. Perfect. That looks great. Okay, and there's our tabs. They're still there. Okay, and again, we've got two accents for the windows here, and then we have one in the center. We'll get that installed here in just a second. I'm going to spread these tabs out now, and we'll get these in place. So yeah, this one's, it's not difficult. Just got a lot of moving pieces here that just want to make sure we do it right, take our time, and then we'll have a very awesome and spooky, one-of-a-kind sort of pieces. Now this side here, as you'll see when we're done, we've got a broken shutter to add to that, but we can do that at the end. Okay, let me get that little hair off there. Okay, just kind of hitting that with my finger in case I applied a little too much. All right, just line that up with the existing cutout. Perfect. Okay, and then one more little section here. We've got this guy here that's going to go right in the center. And this is a symmetrical piece, so it doesn't matter how you put it on. Just make sure it's nice and centered. There we go. Okay, so as I mentioned, we may as well take care of this real quick. We've got this piece here, okay, and that's going to get pop dotted on there, but we need to glue the orange section to the black section, and you'll want to apply the glue to the orange section since there's a little cutout at the bottom. If we put it on the black part, we wouldn't know exactly where to put it on the black part without the glue showing through on the bottom half. So just glue that down to the black part, and then we're going to take and glue the vellum to the back of the black part. Okay, and we'll put this off to the side and attach this to the actual haunted house once everything else is put together. Okay, so I'm just going to do a few little dots of glue. Again, once this is in place, no one's gonna see the back of this, so it doesn't matter where we put the vellum. You could technically sandwich it between the two layers if you want, but it's not necessary. Okay, just a tiny little dots. I'm barely squeezing any glue out of there, and I'm just tapping the surface of the paper with the nozzle to get that little dot on there. Okay, so there's our door. We'll throw some foam squares on that after the fact, and we'll put that off to the side. And then, as I mentioned, there's a little broken shutter, and it's just made up of these two pieces here. We've got a thin little orange piece and then a green piece. I'm just going to apply a few tiny little dots to the green piece. And pop that right on there. Make sure it's nice and aligned. And there you have it. Okay, this is going to get pop dotted or foam squared right over here, roughly. We'll do that as kind of a finishing touch. All right, so that now leads us to assembling the actual structure. Okay, now you'll notice that there's a series of little score marks on here. There's a Roman numeral 3 on this one. We've got a Roman numeral 1. Then we have a Roman numeral 4, and there's also an L on here, meaning that this is on the left. This is a Roman numeral 2 with an R, that goes to the right. And the reason we had to do that was because these holes for the towers are different sizes. So I'm gonna go in this order here. So we've got piece number, what is this? This is a 4. So this is 1, 2, 3, 4. This has an L on it, this has an R on it. Okay, so I'm gonna actually start in the center, and what we're gonna do is we're gonna put glue on this tab here, like so. And just as we've been doing this entire process, spread that glue out to the very edge, and this is the edge here that we want to connect with this tab. Just make sure that you get it nice and aligned. Okay, try to get that as aligned as possible. If you want to kind of flip that in a little bit, you can, just to get your finger and hand in there a lot better. There we go. Okay, and you can put that down flat. And then you can actually flip it over and press down. Get that seam nice and clean. Beautiful. Okay, so obviously this is the front, this is the right. Now we're going to take the back and connect it here. Okay, so let's get some glue on this tab Spread that glue out, just like that. And let's get that lined up. Just get that lined up as accurately as you can. Okay, there we go. You can actually fold that over flat and work on it that way. Press that down. Take a look and see how that lined up. That lined up nicely. I'm going to keep pressing that down. Okay. Wonderful. Okay. So that just leaves, again, we've got the front, we've got the right. This one should say L on here. Piece number 4 with the letter L, and it does. So we can take and connect that like so. Get our glue on this tab. Spread that glue out. Here we go. And line that up as accurately as you can. If it helps, you can take this piece here and just kind of fold it over. This is the next section we're going to glue, but it kind of does help you make sure you got that lined up correctly. Okay, I'm going to put this down and press down on the tab here. Actually fold it this way too. I'm just doing this to help give me leverage when I'm kind of squeezing these two sections together. It makes them hold a lot quicker. Okay, there we go. And that looks great. And then we just need to finish this off by connecting this section to this section. And we'll do that by putting glue on this tab here, like so. Spread that glue out. And there is a bottom to this, but we're not going to put it on. We're going to use that because we're going to need to get our hand inside of this to connect all the other pieces together. So we're not going to put the bottom on just yet. That's going to be one of the last steps we do. Okay, so get that nice and lined up. Should be able to, let's see here, that's fine. Just get your finger inside there to press that tab up against the inside of this wall here. Okay, that looks great. You can kind of fold it like that, just to get it to stick. Okay, wonderful. So let's flatten out the tabs on the bottom so this thing can sit nice and flush, and it's sitting beautifully. Okay, so as you can see here on the top, let me check my focus. I think that looks great. What we're going to do is we're going to take this side first, and we're going to glue this section to this tab, like so. Okay. And this section to this tab. We'll just do these all together at the same time. So just these two sides of the right side of the house are going to get glued to these tabs here, and then we'll do the other half. We have to start here because we have some additional tabs on top that we need to glue the other side to. You'll see what I mean. And there's a lot going on right now, so just follow along and we'll be totally fine. Okay, so we put glue on the two tabs on the right side of the house, top part. We're going to fold this over, line that up as accurately as you can. Try to keep it just to the inside of the panel with the shingles. And then we'll go over here and line that up nicely as well. You can actually put that down flat on your table and press down from the inside on both sides. Really help that glue take. Okay, and now we've got a nice solid surface there for our roof. Okay, and you'll see here, now we've got these tabs, and these tabs here, these little triangular ones, are actually from this section. And that's just to really, give that a place to rest up here. So let's get our glue. Pull this back a little bit just open it up and give me some access to get my glue on this tab. And then we'll put some glue on that tab as well. If you make a little bit of a mess on this section up here, it's okay, because we got an entire roof that's going to cover this up in just a little bit. But try not to make a mess if you don't have to. Okay, just kind of hitting that with my finger, dabbing that glue, pulling it out to the very edge of the tab. And I'm going to fold this back over and connect it right there like so. So you want to get this tab connected as well as this tab from the previous section on both sides. Everything's starting to kind of come together here. Just have the roof to assemble. Okay, and this is the main part of it. And I've already pre-folded everything here. What we're going to do first is we're going to start off by taking the little sections here. And you'll notice that on one of these sides here, there's nothing. Okay, so what we're going to do next is we're going to put the roof together here. And one thing that you need to keep in mind here is if you take a look at the actual house, the base of the house here, you'll notice that the hole on the left is larger than the hole on the right. That's because of the different sized towers. And you'll notice on the roof, or the main structure of the roof, that the hole on the left is bigger than the hole on the right. So you want to make sure you have it in the correct, you don't want to have it this way. You want to make sure you have it in the correct orientation here, because these pieces that we're going to put on here, well, obviously this one needs to be in the front because it's got the little bat on it. This other one goes on the back, okay? Okay, so before I get started here with this, I'm going to take my little score tool. If you have a bone folder, you can use that. It's just to really loosen up those fibers in the paper here so that everything folds a lot easier. It's easier to work with, so I'm not getting resistance from any of these sections. Okay. Alright, so again, making sure that I have the larger square on the left and the smaller square, it's actually not even a square, it's like a trapezoid. Okay, and we're going to take these pieces here, okay, and we're going to begin, just so that we know exactly where it needs to go, we're going to start by gluing this to this little section here. You can see how it lines up. Okay, and this little corner needs to meet this corner here on the main structure. So let's begin by putting glue on this panel here, or this little tab I should say. And I'm going to hit that with my finger, spread that glue out, get it nice and tacky so it dries quickly. Again, making sure that my, this is the front. Okay, so we're going to glue that down. And just line that up as accurately as you can. Like so. Press that down into place. It's pretty straightforward little process here. Okay, and I can move that out of the way. And let's get our glue on this tab. Like so. Spread that glue all the way across the tab here. And all we need to do is just make sure that we get this nice and flush with this piece here. A fancy little piece. All the way to the top there. Okay. There we go. Now we can move this tab back this section here. Spread that glue out. There we go. And get that lined up as well. Just like that. And that little tip right there should terminate right there. Okay, here we go. Just like that. And then of course we have this little guy here. Just throw a little bit of glue on that tab. And we're going to tuck that right behind the very tip of this little section of the roof. There we go. Just like that. Okay, so you can see how that has taken shape, which is going to make this side a lot easier, but I still think that just for the sake of making sure that we're being as accurate as possible, we're still going to approach it the same way. Okay, so I'm going to start here, a little bit of glue, like that. We'll take this piece and get that lined up. This little corner here, this little point, needs to match up with the point right there. And just press and hold that down for a moment. There we go. Okay, move that out of the way, and let's apply our glue to this tab now. And just work that glue onto the whole tab. And let's get that lined up as accurately as we can. Now we're going to be putting some roof panels on top of this, so if you do get a little bit of glue on this section here, don't worry about it too much. Try to keep it as clean as you can. Okay. Right up to the very tip there. And now we got to move that back a little bit. This is pretty much going to not move too much more now. Get that excess glue off of there. That was sloppy, I'll tell you what. Okay, and I'm going to use a scrap piece of paper to spread that glue a little bit. There we go. And let's get that lined up nicely. Get any of the excess glue off of there. Line that up. Okay. And that just leaves this little guy here. We can poke him out. And just get a little glue on there. Okay, and tuck it in right behind there. It should match up nicely. And squeeze that into place. Okay, so everything should be nice and rigid now. Nice and strong. There we go. Okay. Okay, now you can definitely get the panels on just to get that out of the way. Okay, so remember that the holes in these are different sizes based on which side they're going on. So make sure you grab the right one for the right side. This is the smaller little square or trapezoid, whatever you want to call it. It's not exactly a square. So let's get that in place. And just match that up with the little cutout. I'm using that as my initial focal point. There's going to be a little bit of a border around the very edges here. Just work your fingers in there. Get it all nice and lined up. I'm doing this now instead of later because well, I can get my fingers in here. Anytime you can give your fingers access to things, it's always going to be a lot easier. So grab the other side, get our glue in place. And we have some little overlays that we need to put on the, I guess you'd call it the soffit. Okay, let's get our glue on here. There we go. And again, using the cutout for the tower as my initial guide. There we go. Just try to get it as centered as you can. There we go, beautiful. Okay, and that looks great. All right. So, a couple things we can do here at this point. We do have these little overlays that need to go onto the sides here. Okay, and we're going to begin by putting the two sides in place first. These are actually going to be flush with the very top of the side here. We want to get that as flush as we can. And then we have two little tabs that are going to go over onto the front and the back. So let's first start by applying glue to these little sections here. Okay, and you can just do a little dot right on there as well. Again, make sure you have it nice and flush with the top so that you have kind of a little two-tone effect thing going on at the very bottom. Kind of run your finger along the top here to feel it, make sure it does feel nice and flush. And then press that over as well, like so. Perfect. We can go over to the other side. We'll do the same thing. Get your glue on this section. Just a little dab there. Pop that on. You can use the little folds there for the tabs as kind of a guide for placement, for centering. But of course, you want to make sure that, again, it's nice and flush with the top here. You don't want it down at all. And then press those tabs over. Perfect. Okay. Now you can take this guy here, and you can see how this is going to go on, right on there, and then it should match up with the little tabs that we have in place there. Okay, so let's flip this over and let's get our glue on here. We've got a little bit of a surface area to work with here. So on the little bat, I'm just going to use a series of little dots, try to get some on the tips of the ears, and the rest of it is pretty much business as usual. Kind of dab that a little bit. Okay, I'm going to start by getting the bat in place and nice and centered, and then work the rest of it all the way down. Again, we want that to be flush with the top as well. Same with this side here. And just press that down into place, and that looks great. My right side fit perfectly, and so did the left side. Is almost as perfect, but that's why we have that little tab there, so that it folds over and we don't have a little orange gap. Okay, that looks great. And that roof is just about complete. I've got to flip this over, and we've got this guy here. He's going to go right here. Okay, so let's get our glue on the back of this. This one doesn't have a bat, so it's a little bit easier. A lot of little details in this house, but that's what makes it special. Especially if you take the time to ink it and emboss. Boy, this thing is going to be, it's going to really, really stand out. I can assure you that. You will be very, very impressed with the end result. Okay, here we have it. Just pressing that down into place. You can actually put that down on your surface. And do that. Okay, there we go. Nice solid roof. And now we can just glue this on like so. Okay. And then we can get our towers in pretty much on the home stretch here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually apply glue to this, because this way I know exactly where it needs to go. I'm going to keep it a little bit away from the panels on the sides and the front. Just focus on getting it in the center. Don't really need to get the glue out to the very edges. You're not going to be able to see underneath the roof anyway. Make sure when you're putting this down that the bat is on the front, and obviously you just want to line this up with the existing cutouts for the towers as well. Well, all three towers, the center tower and the middle tower. Okay, there we go. So I think the best way to do this, as far as the towers go, is we're going to do the little towers first, because then that way we can actually get our fingers in here, and then we'll do the big tower last, because we can get our fingers and hand in through there. Okay, but there she is, starting to really come together now. And let's grab our smaller tower, and that's the one that's going to go on the left-hand side. I'm just going to poke that through the little cutout there. Okay, and you can get your hand in through the bottom, and just like we did before, we're going to put glue on the surface of the tabs and then just push them over to the underside of the house. Okay, I want to make sure that we keep that chimney facing towards the center. Okay, so I'm going to start off by just putting glue on one of these tabs. Just very easy, we don't need a lot here. And just pressing that up against the inside of the house. This actually is very simple. Got a lot of access here. Okay, I'll even show it to you from this angle here. Now I'm going to go to the opposite side. I'm holding this tab down still. That's where I put glue. We're going to put a tiny bit of glue right there on that tab. And then we're going to take it and press it up against the inside of the house. Okay, and I'm just going to do that from this angle here. It's just a lot easier. And then I can press down right here as well. And hold that down. And that shouldn't take long. So I've got two of the tabs glued down. I'm just going to take and fold the other two in. And just throw a little bit of glue right on that tab and that tab. And then we're going to take these tabs and fold them over onto the inside. And I'll do that, hold that with my fingers. I'll show you the end result here in just a second. Should not take long at all. There we go. And it's really coming together now. And there we go. Okay, so all four tabs are glued in place. There's the front. Got the first tower in. Let's grab, let's see. Yeah, that should be okay. I don't think it's going to get in the way. I'll take this and we'll pop it through. Just pop those tabs right through there. Okay, and we'll do the same exact thing. Just going to make sure all the tabs are through. Just going to take and glue those tabs to the inside. I'm going to go ahead and start here on this tab. You can see the blue on that. And I'm going to take and push it up against the inside of the wall here. Or the roof, I should say. But I'm going to do it from out here so I can make sure that it's nice and centered and give it a good press. Okay, make sure those tabs are tucked in. Now I'm going to go to the opposite tab. So I'll do it from this angle here. It's a lot easier to see. Okay, you can see that tab. I'm holding it with my thumb. Just a little bit of glue, and then taking it and pressing it up against the inside. And hold that down. See how that's starting to come together. Okay, let's flip her over. And I have two tabs left. Just a little bit of glue on both of them. And take it and fold it over that way. And then we'll do this one this way. Okay, I'm going to do that with my fingers though. It's a lot easier. And I'll show you the end result here. Okay, so we've got the two side towers in place. You can see how nicely those are in there. And now we're going to take the center tower, we're going to fold those tabs in so that we can slide them through. Okay, they're just going to go right in like that, just like we did the previous towers. Okay, and then the reason I did that was so that you can flip it over and actually keep it on its head while we glue these tabs down. Okay, and it should be pretty straightforward. I think we're going to start at the front. Okay, so don't mind this thing. It's something that I picked up a little while ago, and it's perfect for situations like this. Okay, so the tower is in place, okay? And again, we have a tab here, here, two tabs in the front and two tabs in the back. And you know, it's really sitting perfect right now to where this should be very easy. So I'm gonna start off, I'm actually gonna start off in the front. So I'm gonna take and fold these two front tabs back. Kind of moved a little bit, but that's okay. And I'll show you here. I'm going to put glue right on this tab here and this tab here. It doesn't need to be perfect, just need enough. Okay, and then we're going to take this tab and fold it right onto that surface in there. Okay, I'm going to do that with my fingers very carefully, just making sure that everything is nice and centered. And I'll show you the end result here. I've got a ton of extra light in here because it's all black in here. It's kind of hard to see without this extra light, but I'll show you here. Okay, so there. That's where I just put the glue on the tabs and I folded them over onto that surface. So now those tabs are holding this all in place. And we're just going to repeat that with the remaining tabs, but we're going to go over to the back now. Let's take a look at it from the front real quick. Make sure everything looks nice and lined up, and it does. Okay, so here we are on the back. We've got this tab here. I'm going to fold that down so that I can put glue on there. And again, it doesn't need to be perfect, just need to get a little bit of glue on there, and then when you press that down and start to push it into place, that glue is going to spread around. Okay, so again, once you have the glue on there, we're going to take it and push it down against the inside of the surface. Okay, I'm going to do that with my fingers. And pressing down on the roof here while I'm pushing up with my finger from the inside. And you'll see what that looks like here. Okay, so there they are. There's that tab and that tab, nice and flush on there. And that just leaves two tabs on the side. They're a little bit thinner. I'll show you here. They'll show up a lot better once I get some glue on there. There you go. You can see those two tabs. And those are going to go this way, up against that piece. And that's going to go this way, up against that piece. And again, I'm just going to do that with my fingers while I kind of push down in the general vicinity here, just to make sure that I don't break anything. This thing is very solid, like really solid actually. Very well built. Okay, and that's it. So the center tower is all in place. You can see those tabs are glued down, and that is what the end result looks like. Let me turn that off. It's a little bright. Okay, so at this point now, yeah, we're at that point where we can start kind of finishing things off. Now, one thing I want to do is put the bottom on. We're ready to do that now. I'm going to start by anchoring this to the bottom on the front part. Okay, so we're going to anchor the bottom to this panel here. We'll start on the front because it's typically where I want to see my best work. Okay, and just pop that right onto the center, like so. Should sit nice and flush. And we can take this and kind of let it fall down a little bit and press down from the inside. No one's really going to see this part anyway, but you still want to try to keep it nice and clean. Okay, there we go. And fold this over. And let's get our glue on the remaining three tabs I said, this is just more structural than anything because this is eventually going to get glued down to the base. So I'm not really overly concerned about it being perfect. I'm going to flare these tabs up just a tiny bit. So as I pull this down, it grabs more of that surface area. And this thing should already be pretty square. So it should just kind of fall into place. Just like that. Okay. And just hold that down if you want. You can flip it over and push down from the inside. You still have a place to pop your hand in there. Okay. Perfect. All right, so we've got a bottom on there now. And we do have this little piece that we need to glue down. Okay. So let's get our glue. We don't want to put glue on the door. We just want to put glue on the outer part of it. I mean, even if you did put glue on the door, it's not going to do anything. It's got no place to grab onto. Okay, and we're going to take this and just kind of slide it up all the way to the top and make sure it's centered so that kind of just matching it up with the cutout there. There's going to be a little bit of a border and make sure it's flush with the bottom, and then just press that down into place. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a little piece of Velcro right here. I'll show you how that works in just a second. I'm going to just grab my fingers and kind of like you're making a little pie crust, just squeeze the rest of this panel into place so it doesn't go anywhere. There we go. Okay, let me grab my little Velcro piece here. Should have one here. So it's just a tiny little piece of Velcro. It's circular. And I'm going to peel back one side of it. There we go. And we'll put it on the circular part here. Peel back the other half. And then just press that into place. Should grab onto the paper, but allow to be released there. Okay, and I'll give that an extra press. So now we've got Velcro on both of these sections and kind of keeps it nice and closed. Everything looks nice and crisp and clean. Okay, so all that's left now is to, well, we can get this thing onto the base. Okay, and what we want to do is we want to line this up with the little step, the black step there. Okay, and then what else do we have left? We've got that little window. Yeah, so let's just do that real quick. So we're going to put glue. You can sit this like this. This is why we didn't put that that little porch area on yet, so that we can flip this upside down and work on it like that and not worry about crushing it. Really kind of try to go through all this stuff in my head before I go through the assembly, just to make it easier on you. Okay, so we got plenty of glue on the bottom there. Just get that nice and centered. The center of the door should match up with the center of the little door step, that little black area. Okay, and just press that down and just let it sit for a minute. Okay, and as I mentioned before, we've got this little door here, and we're just going to put some foam squares on that. I'm probably just going to put 2 of them on there. I don't think I'll have room to do any more. So I'll do one here, and I'll do one here, maybe a little bit lower. Okay, and that's just to kind of give it a cool dimensional look. And let me see, make sure I'm doing this right. And I just want that to be flush with the step. And just press that up against the door there. Just like that. Okay, just gives it a little added dimension. And now, I don't think we're going to be flipping this thing upside down anymore. So you can definitely take and put your little fence up on the top. And then we'll show you what to do with the little ghost as well. Okay, let's get our glue on the bottom of this little, I think they had access to these back in the day. That's why, or maybe not. Maybe it was just a roof with a cool little patterned fence up at the top. We're going to pop that right on the top and press and hold that down. Make sure that it really grabs. Okay, there you go. I'm really pushing down on this thing. This thing is pretty sturdy right now. Make sure you've got it centered. There we go. Keep holding that down. There we go. Okay. And as I mentioned, down at the bottom here, we have this extra shutter. I'm going to put a tiny little foam square on this guy, and he's going to be just on that front window there. Kind of got jostled around, and someone hasn't been maintaining this haunted house very well, even though actually most of the things on this haunted house look pretty darn good. I mean, if that's all it is just one little shutter on the front, I'd say whatever spooks live in here, it's doing a pretty darn good job of keeping it together. And I'm just going to pop that right on there, just so it's just kind of hanging off there. You can see how that looks. Okay, and that just leaves the little shuttered window. The tip of it, the point, is going to be pointing down. Okay, and the idea here is to get him, so what we're going to do is we're actually going to glue him, the bottom part of his body is going to get glued to the inside of the window, like so, and he's just going to be kind of coming out. I'm not going to put any glue anywhere else, just at the bottom here. Okay, so let's put a little bit of glue right there, and then take your ghost. I think we're going to have to draw some eyeballs for him though. And that's okay. It's really going to test your skills here in ghost drawing. Okay, just glue him right to the bottom part of that frame so that he looks like he's kind of just sticking out and coming out there. Okay, and I'm not the best when it comes to drawing these, but this is where you can really just have some fun. I'm going to use a pencil to do it initially, and then I'll color it in more with a black marker. And you're literally just drawing little circles. And if just shade them in. You can see I just drew little circles there, and then I'll grab a Sharpie or whatever you want to use to kind of color it in a little more to make it more pronounced. Kind of like doing it with a pencil first in case I goof up. You can always go in and kind of correct it, but that looks great. Just a few little circles, no big deal. Okay, so he's coming out, and now I just need to put glue on the bottom and top of this frame here, because it folds right at where the what are they called again? The shutters. So we're just putting glue on the top and the bottom, and I'm going to glue that right to that top window there. Okay, just press that down into place. Make sure it's nice and centered. We're not putting glue on the shutters themselves, just on the parts above and below the ghost. And then you can kind of close the shutters a little bit. Make sure that's all sitting in place. And that's it. Yeah, so again, I mentioned that we have, well, we've got little squares up here. And what I'm going to do to create the little pearls is I'm going to take two pearls and glue them together. So I've got two halves of a pearl. I'm just going to glue them together to make one. And then I'll just glue that to the top here on either side. And then as far as the smoke goes, I'm going to clean this up a little bit. But basically, you can take, and if you just take and pull at a cotton ball. I don't like how there's little lumps in there, but you just kind of take and pull at it. You can really create the illusion of smoke. And if you want to give it a little bit of a twirl at the top, okay, now that might be a little bit too big, which is okay, because you can just kind of trim it with a scissor, and then just kind of glue that to the top of the chimney to give it the illusion of someone having a little cozy fire inside of that haunted house. I'll give that a little bit of a twirl. Well, maybe not. We'll keep it wispy. Okay, and then you can either hot glue it or just glue it down. That might be a little bit too big. So you know what, I'm gonna actually trim this way as well. And kind of just pull it up. You want to kind of make it, you know, just sort of pointy at the end, like that. And then we'll pop that right on top of the chimney here. And if once we let that dry, we can kind of spruce it up a little bit and just kind of pull at some of those little cotton strands a little more. Make it even more wispy, but that's pretty much it. So you can see how that looks. Well, there it is. I'm actually very impressed with how this turned out. Definitely one of my favorite haunted houses from our site. Probably right next to the Grizzly Manor, which I think is a little more realistic. This one's definitely a little more whimsical and cutesy, but I still love it, especially with just all the vibrant colors and everything that's going on. And it's just like it's got a kind of a forced perspective, kooky, crazy sort of feel to it. But I really love it, and I hope you guys love it too, especially considering this thing comes packed with and combined with 2 of our all new Jolly Jointed figurines. So you can't go wrong for a bundle. But anyway, hope you guys enjoyed the process. If you did, be sure to head over to our YouTube channel and consider hitting that subscribe button while you're there. Hit the little bell so that you get notifications anytime we release a new product, whether it be paid or free. And if you make this or anything from the new bundle, I'd love to see it, and so would the rest of our community. So head over to your Facebook and do a search for Dreaming Tree Group, or you can type in this little URL that you'll see here at the bottom of your screen. So I think this is going to be the last one for Halloween this year. So I hope you guys enjoyed it. I hope you guys have a great fall, which starts tomorrow. A happy Halloween, and as always, I look forward to crafting with you again. Hey, thanks for crafting along with me. Hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, check out some of our other videos, and also please consider hitting that subscribe button. And don't forget to visit our site and check out our free SVG section, where we have over 140 free SVG files complete with assembly videos. I look forward to crafting with you soon.